Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me as I discuss my small group communication and leadership project. My name is Kylee Dushman, and my topic that I decided to have my small group be themed on is a Bible study. And I will tell you the reason for that in just a moment. First, I want to give you a little bit of a outline, if you will, of what this video will go over. So first, it's going to go over the why I chose to do a Bible study. Why did I make that be my small group? And in this, I want to talk about the vision, the heart, and what was my hopes and dreams going into it. Then I want to talk about the how. How did it happen? What did it look like for me to lead that and send the invite and coordinate that? How did that come together? Then I want to talk about some setbacks. Not everything goes perfectly. So, what went wrong and how did we overcome that? And then I want to conclude just kind of saying some perspective and thoughts that I got from afterward and how I can bring that forward into the next groups I have. So, to kick things off, the why. So, the reason that I decided to do a Bible study is because it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's I really want to go into ministry with my career, so it relates to that. And it also is just something that I care deeply about. And that was kind of the vision. The vision that was that people will grow in their faith. And while we're doing that, we're also growing in a relationship with the members in the group along with God. And so we're building this godly community as we're also building a relationship with the most important person in the world, God. So that was my vision for it. And I just thought it would be so cool if we could gather together with a few members and just talk about God and get to know each other. So that was my hope for it. And this also fits with my leadership style because I tested at the beginning of the quarter that I saw leadership as an ability emphasis, which means that I see leadership as both a skill that that you work for, and sometimes that you're just born with a natural ability. And I have worked a lot at like leading things like Bible studies. My job, I'm a youth admin, so I kind of have some experience. So I have like a knowledge and a base. But I also have had people say that it's something that I'm naturally, able to do. So there is some of that that also made this a good choice. But let's go into part two, the how. And I wanted to bring a quote from the textbook that we use in this quarter. And it's although some leaders can talk the talk, leaders who implement the vision walk the walk. So, how did I walk the walk? It first started with sending an invite. So, you can see on the screen right there the text that I sent out to my sister and two of my closest friends. And basically, I just said the vision, the heart what I just said a second ago, how I wanted to build this godly community. And I also invited them to, going to a coffee shop. I also threw in the virtual option. But yeah, so I sent that text. And to be honest, I didn't get a response. So I had to reach out again and see if it would work. And this leads me to some setbacks. We always get setbacks. But I want to bring out another quote that the textbook talked about. And it said, being determined takes discipline and the ability to endure. But having this trait will almost certainly enhance a person's leadership. So I had to be determined because I sent this text, no response. Sent another one, and I had to make some adjustments so that it will work. And it took determination to continue to do what needs to be done to make this happen. So, what were some of the things that we had to work through and curveballs? The biggest one was that we are busy. I am a very, very busy person. Like I said, I'm doing full-time running start. I also and have a pretty big job as a youth admin. So a lot of my time is taken up. I also coming off of this as this week that when I'm recording this video, we had like 3 or 4 church events that were huge. So it was definitely a busy time. And not only that, but the members in my group are very busy. In fact, one of them plays volleyball at Central. So she doesn't even live in town. My sister, we just moved back a few days before this video is being filmed. So it was just we're busy. Location is an issue because I mean they don't always live in town during the week. So I had to use some adaptivity, and that brings me to another quote. And it's in the end, the best leaders is the leaders who helps the followers achieve the goal by attending to the task and by attending to each person follower as a person. So I had to adapt, which in this case looks like doing it virtually because as I said, one of them doesn't live in town during the week, another of them is super busy and I'm busy. So we ended up doing it over a FaceTime, and I pulled up YouVersion and talked about a verse with them, and it was a very meaningful time, but I definitely had to adapt and not do the coffee shop like I first pictured and do a virtual meeting. And so that leads me to part 4 of this project, and that's some afterthoughts. So, how did our dynamics look? I think the best way to describe that is our dynamics looked like I was a coordinator. I kind of sent the invite, I led the discussion, I was the one who pulled up and talked about the verse. And so it was very much so like I was coordinating it. And that the second question is how I led. And I think I led by kind of bringing the conversation along and by just kind of guiding it. And I kind of took the leadership role as like being the person who said some thoughts. So, something interesting to me though is that the other members in my group didn't really um didn't really like say a lot about it. I kind of talked and said whatever stood out to me on, but they didn't really end up saying a lot. So that was interesting. Also, you can see in the background that's me reading the verse with one of my friends on FaceTime. The other one you can't see. But yeah, so that's that. And then to bring to a conclusion, some of the feedback I got from my friends was that we should do it in person next time, which I would love. I know that summer's coming up. So one thing that we did talk about was making this a scheduled thing where we try different coffee shops and just kind of study God's word together. So that was one piece of feedback. We also thought, I said, should we have food next time? And they were like, yeah, we should have dessert. We should have brownies. So that is definitely, it would be fun. I'm down for that. I love brownies. But yeah, so that is my project. I think that what I can take from this is that sometimes you have to reach out again. You have to be determined to have something happen. You also, I think I want to figure out how to create a welcoming environment where people can come and share ideas and put their thoughts on the table. And I would love to in the future continue to do it because I think it's a really awesome thing to be able to study God's word together. That's something that I'm really passionate about. And the reality is, we're all in small groups all the time, from in a grocery store to at work. I work with multiple people. And so I'm in different small groups. And I think we can all take lessons that sometimes it takes determination, sometimes it takes being able to adapt and do things virtually, do things not, and all of that. So, definitely some good lessons. But thank you so much for listening. I am so glad that you were here.